Discord channel, the debut of Luddy's damn Discord channel. But first, we'll also talk about a pretty interesting comment from former Dallas Stars GM, now GM of the St. Louis Blues, Doug Armstrong, on Mike Modano having the captaincy taken away from him. We'll get into that. Some NHL rule changes, some notable defensive retirements in the league. Sam, Sean, Luds on remote. We got a big one. Don't go anywhere. Should probably do a cold open, right?
A previously thing. Okay. Yeah. Previously on DLS Star. I'm writing. Can you handle this?
Yeah, I got it. But no two shot. Let's go to here. ISO. Previously on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. See, that's better.
I like it. Oh, just get on that TikTok and hit that Riz lid up in the corner.
If you can't see this because you're listening to this later, it's not you. It's our producer that's a lunatic.
Because usually I'm just hanging out back here trying to look taller.
I have lost all track of where I was going, and I hope that this is
no,
usable.
But it's an interesting point, and I appreciate your candid nature of saying you've lost your train of thought. The average age of the pod dropped 30 years today.
Oh, yes.
It's Friday, September 6th, and this is the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. We're live from the podcast studio today. Well, some of us are on camera. Some of us aren't, or hidden, or I don't know what's going on. I'm Owen. Sam, Sean from his normal location at his house in the suburbs of Detroit, and from an area of parts unknown. It is a potpourri of fruit cross sections, also known as our own Craig Ludwig. Luddy, look at you.
I had to buy that bag yesterday at a shopping store to get my groceries out when we arrived here in this beautiful state of New Jersey.
Are they? There must be a no plastic bag state then, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
From what I've seen in 12 hours, it should just be a no state.
And he's in the nice part of New Jersey.
Two of the other three of us, not named Craig Ludwig, have lived in New Jersey, including most recently Sam. Previously, Sean. I've been in New Jersey multiple times, but I've never lived there. Luddy, you're saying that it's forgettable?
Well, just the drive. I mean, the drive was 45 minutes from the airport to start with. But I will say this: the town that we're in, Wayne, is very nice from what we could tell at midnight driving in, since our plane was an hour and a half late taking off in Dallas. And then we actually stood at the little turnstile deal for over 40 minutes to get the guys' baggage and everything else. So it's just been a good start.
Wait, you're in Wayne?
Yes.
Are you playing at the Ice Bowl? Is that where the games are?
Yeah. Yes, we are. We're right across the street.
Okay, so I played high school hockey there for one of the worst high school teams in the state history. We went it was my freshman year of high school. We went like 17-2 or something like that.
Man, you guys must have really celebrated.
What was your goals against?
Celebrate two ties.
No, but here's the point. So I was a freshman on that team, and it got to the point where like they were 0-15, and they told the junior and the senior that, well, you're done, you're not playing anymore, and they let me play like the last 5 games, and I got the 2 ties in the last 5 games.
Wow.
So that is my claim to fame of New Jersey hockey at that rink right now. So
yeah, but then they ran him out of the state. He had to move to Michigan.
Yeah, it's a good rink.
I did. It is a good rink.
It's a nice rink.
How many games is your team playing this weekend?
We are actually playing. We don't play till 8:30 this evening, so we play the same team. It's one of these early ones. It's the first one for all of our players and probably their players. I had heard they played a couple of games already, but regardless, this is about. We only had like a good week of practice, so everybody gets in every situation, and you try to tell them that what you see right now is probably not what it's going to be like in 2 weeks from now, or even 2 days or 2 nights from now. So, it's one of them. Yeah, it's like preseason for some of the young guys coming in the NHL. They get to show and find a way to hopefully earn their way onto a team, or at least into a spot to get their name on the sheet for the following night.
I got a great follow-up. Which is worse, killing time before you play in an NHL game or killing time before you coach a AAA game?
Oh boy. No, it's all playing in an NHL game. I mean, I'll tell you, it's the kids here are, again, we get they're moving up from the younger level, and so you spend some time trying to deprogram a few things and then reprogram and get them on the page, that hopefully when they get in front of some of these scouts in the next month or two, that those scouts want to come back and take another look at them. And then eventually down the road, if they get an opportunity to go play on a junior team, whether it's the North American League, or, if they're fortunate enough to play in the USHL or even Canada, mom and dad don't have to spend as much money moving forward. And I think the long one is if they can get some kind of a scholarship, to go to school. So that's kind of the goal. And so, I mean, they play 60, 65 games a year, and there's a lot of travel and a lot of practicing. And so it's good for the kids, and they'll learn some things along the way, and they'll learn how to be a little bit closer to professionals than we run our program here, like you do in the NHL and the American leagues too.
So before we get into our main topic, I have to derail the show quickly. We have a beverage update. Sean just took a sip from an Arnold Palmer. For those that aren't familiar, you should know by now, it's half lemonade, half iced tea, but he did it in can form.
It's a
it was
strawberry.
too hard for Sean to mix it himself.
Oh, it's a flavored one.
No, it's a strawberry.
Strawberry
one.
Arnold Palmer. Good Lord.
Strawberry.
Sam had an iced coffee, Luds, but with 5 minutes to go, he ran off and grabbed a sparkling water because he said he had to have water. I don't consider that water. It's got flavor and bubbles in it. I've got the ice water in here. What do you got going on in the hotel room? Anything, or are you going without a beverage?
Well, let me tell you, no, there's beverages right over here.
There it is.
I will tell you, here's a little 561. You know who that's all about. But I will tell you, there are some skanky things in the water and bubbles here too in New Jersey that I noticed. So I'm not sure if that's added flavor or not, or what the deal is. But I haven't.
It is. It's specialized.
Yeah. Boy, I'm not getting any. Man, it's going to be a long weekend in New Jersey for me. If
it is. We just hope you come back with your full health.
Yeah, we'll try. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are hoping it's just the opposite, but we'll give it a shot.
All right, so let's get into the main topic of today's show, and we have a clip for you because it goes back to the late, what they would call the aughts, when Mike Modano had his captaincy taken away at near the end of his Dallas Stars career, and given, of course, to Brendan Morrow. Here's what former Stars GM, who's now been the St. Louis Blues general manager for a long time, Doug Armstrong, said on the Cam and Strick podcast earlier this week.
I've had regrets on outcomes. Nothing more than there's two. There's two in Dallas when we made Brendan Morrow the captain, and Mike Modano was the captain. All the logic that worked up to it was Mike was part of a generation. This is the next generation. Mike can help Brendan take it on. A little bit like what's going on with the Leafs. But it wasn't right. And it wasn't the perception from the fans that made it right. It just, when I saw it, how it worked itself out, it wasn't right. And I respected Mike. I do respect Mike Modano, and I felt it was a bad idea. It was right intentions, bad idea. And I said, like the idiot, make them co-captains. The answer seemed, or do nothing. The players love Brendan, and they loved his, and Mike handled it unreal. Yeah. Unbelievable.
It wouldn't have worked if he didn't.
Yeah, he was disappointed in the decision as he again, I made a mistake, but he just said to Brendan, I'm here for you. Mike Modano is one of the classiest human beings you're ever going to meet, and he handled that situation with himself better than I could see anybody else doing, and he made it okay.
All right, Luds, we got to go to you first. What are your impressions after you saw what Army said there?
That's why I love that guy. I think he, again, Jim Nils won back-to-back MVP or Managers of the Year, but Army is in the top 3 for me. And how many general managers they're going to come out and be that blunt and say that they made a mistake. So, we talked about this before. It's hard on Mike, and again, the right answer that Army just had was should have made them co-captains. But it didn't happen that way. And again, we talked about Mike the other day, and I'm telling you, and he just basically said the same thing. He's one of the classiest people you're going to meet, and there are times when Mo didn't like what was going on, regardless if it was a coach or a power play or anything, but you'd never know it. He may say something under his breath, but when he was out in public, especially, and when he was out with the fans, smile went on. And even when he had a poor performance, which he didn't have many of them out of 1,499 games or whatever he played, and we're going to speak about that 99, that you never know that there was anything wrong. And again, he's a true professional on and off the ice and away from the rink, at the rink. What he's like at home, I don't know. Maybe he takes it out on his kids, but I don't see that happening. I don't think the guy's ever had a bad day. And when you have the God-given talent that he does, and has accomplished everything in his life, and he's an incredible golfer, the dude looks pretty damn good too. So what do you have to complain about? I mean, he would complain he didn't get paid enough money, and now when you look back, he probably should have got paid more money, but that was just then, and this is now, and he's living his best life right now also.
Sean, what do you think is a bigger travesty, that he didn't finish his career as a Dallas Star, or that he didn't get to 1,500 games, as Luddy was talking about?
It's him not finishing his career as a Dallas Star. I've said this before about when it comes to hockey stuff. At some point, it's unfortunately a sport where everyone has to still be a part of the team, right? It's not like in basketball. I think too often it gets compared to how Dirk spent all the years with the Mavs, right? He could play in basketball. You can let someone stick around and play 2 minutes, and it's not going to impact the chemistry, and it's not going to. You have to. So I don't have as much of an issue. I think Nieuwendyk made a very tough call in what he did, and that's something that he probably. It's the 1499 for me is the whole thing, where that's the ridiculous part, where you look at it's one game. We've all heard the stories about how it was handled by Mike Babcock and everything like that. That to me is the biggest travesty. It's ridiculous. You're talking about a guy who goes in as has all these American hockey records, all of this stuff, and you can't get him to this one milestone. That to me is the huge travesty. So.
Crazy looking at his year in Detroit too. That was a bad year, so it's like it just puts a sour note on it, right? He plays 40 games, only has 15
points. He was hurt,
points.
wasn't he, for a big chunk of that?
Yeah. So it's just a bummer. But what I didn't realize is he only had the captaincy for 2 seasons. Modano, is that right? Only 2 years before they gave it to Brendan Morrow, and then he still played 4 more seasons or 3 more seasons with Dallas. So that's just a tough way to do it. It's not like he had it for 10 years and then, they stripped it or whatever. But you see it happening in Toronto right now with Matthews and Tavares, and you just wonder is there a good way to do it, and are they doing it the better way?
Hey, Sean, let me ask you something. In your view, was the mistake that Army may have been speaking about was that he gave it to him in the first place, or that he had to take it away from him? Because I'm just wondering.
That's a good question.
I've been saying this before. Mike, if you know Mike just wants to play hockey. I mean, he's not, and he does. I don't. Again, he's not necessarily the guy that's going to stand up in the room and call somebody out. It's not his personality. And I said this earlier last week, is like you need those kind of guys, and it's just an accountability thing. When you call them out, then you have to be able to do it. So I'm wondering if you think, and that's something that wasn't said. But do you think that they kind of pulled the trigger too early on that decision?
That would have been a wonderful follow-up question for Army at some point, and we could probably text our pal Matt DeFranks to see if we could get him to ask it the next time that he talks to Doug.
Or we could ask our buddy Luds and see if we can get Doug Armstrong on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast. I think that's even better, right?
I'd like to say my buddy. I don't want to ask him that. I want somebody else to ask him that.
That's okay. You get Doug on the show. Here. We'll have one of our writers ask the tough questions.
We can take the vitriol for the
and then,
question.
Buddy, you can look at him and go, I wouldn't ask a question like that. Sorry, Doug.
Sorry, we can't control it.
We'll let you play good cop to Sean's bad cop. How about that?
I think that's a great question, Luds, because it's a spot where they obviously, and you know this well, having talked with all those guys, like they always saw Brendan Morrow as a future leader of this team. But in that time, right, they always saw Brendan in that mold. That was something that was always going to go. He came in. He had been part of the team since, I think he was. Was he a black ace with you guys in '99, or was that in 2000 when he first showed up? I know he was there around. Morrow for Brendan.
I think he was.
Yeah, because so he had been around. He had gained a lot of respect. He had been, and we're talking a good amount of time, and I think one of the things that maybe the mistake, and this would be the great follow-up question to Army on this, would be it might have just been okay to not do a captaincy for a little bit. You could have left it vacant. We've seen teams done that. There's a couple teams right now that don't have captains. You could have let it sit for a bit. It could have been a de facto captaincy, and then no one's getting something stripped away, which all of a sudden people start trying to assign more to, right? We saw it with the Matthews Tavares thing, where we hear the stories about how Tavares is willingly stepping down and doing that, but it's impossible to dispel all of the rumors and read the stuff where it's like, oh, well, it had to be taken away. Like,
and remember, Sean, that happened in Winnipeg a couple years ago when Rick Bowness took the captaincy away from Blake Wheeler, and that eventually led to Wheeler's departure from the Jets. Yeah, and in San Jose had it happen multiple times, right? Like there was a couple times the Sharks changed the captaincy, right? It was when Pavelski took it over. Was it that when they took it away from Thornton, or there was a couple different times. It might have been Marleau.
Yeah, maybe Marleau too.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
They had three captains there for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's. I mean, the co-captains not assigning one, to me, that probably would have been, if you could go back 20/20 vision, that's probably the space you go to it. So
yeah, see, I asked Doug Armstrong that. Go ahead, Luds.
Yeah, oh, sorry, Sam. I was also going to say, when you look when this team came here from Minnesota, and I was part of the move, and who the general manager was, and you go back, and I'm talking about Bob Gainey, and you go back to the Montreal days. Serge Savard was a captain there. Bob Gainey was a captain there. There was a type of player that were the leaders on that team. It wasn't Guy Lafleur, and it wasn't Pierre Mondu. It wasn't that kind of a player. Those were great players. But I just think that I'm just wondering when it came here and when Army became the general manager, at some point, I think you got to get out of the shadow of whoever role you're taking over. And, was that part of why he said, this is who the captain was, and then I'm going this route. So I don't know. I mean, that's a prerogative.
Yeah. We're going to have to carry this over a little bit, but if you're in the chat right now watching, do you agree? Do you think that was mishandled, or was it okay that they changed captaincies? But put a pin in that, Sean, because as you like and subscribe this Friday episode on YouTube, we also have to tell you, because we're going to talk about some NHL rule changes in our next segment, we have to tell you about why the flooring looks so great in the studio at DLS headquarters when we walk in.
Yeah, I had a perfect little thing here, and you guys just kept talking. I'm just going to say it anyway. We can talk to Doug Armstrong in the lounge where Empire Today put up the best flooring in the world. I had it triggered, guys. You ruined it.
Ruined a good segue.
Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. It is your one-stop flooring shop. They want to provide the best and most efficient service. It may not always be the most affordable, but guess what, Owen? That's not always the best, right? If you want the best, it's not going to always be the most affordable. Just go to my apartment and you'll figure that out for yourself.
You like how I shake my head so that people on YouTube can see, but for anybody listening to this podcast later, they can't tell that I agreed with you by shaking my head?
Yeah, it just leaves me on an island.
Yep.
But at Empire Today, you don't have to do any guesswork. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy. You just snap a picture and instantly see how the new floors will look in your room. Schedule a free in-home estimate today at Empire Today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. And no, I will not be singing today.
In Dallas, one of the things is it doesn't matter what season it is, you're going to see a lot of sunshine. And you can get ready for what we call fall in Dallas is really like summer in most regular middle of the U.S. to northern climates where it's only in the 80s during the day. Saw some 50s coming up as lows in about a week. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, you need a pair of quality shades built to last, and our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair that match your style. And Luds, they are giving all the hosts here at DLLS a complimentary pair of Shady Rays. The question is, have you gone on the Shady Rays website and picked out your pair yet?
And then logged into the Google
No,
sheet.
let's not get that far. I just want to know if he's looked through the options yet.
You guys, stop it. You know the answer to that.
We got to get you on there so you can get your pair, so then you can wear it on the show and show it off to everybody.
Funny enough, I have access to that Google sheet, so I can just pick a pair that he's going to hate and put his name on them, and they'll send them to him.
So let me guess, cat eye glasses or some
Yeah,
aviators.
Those really big
when I'm not there, don't you sit
baseball
right
ones.
next to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, now Luds' desk is over here in the corner.
But then Sam, when he breaks those off your face, you can just send in for a replacement.
Yeah.
Because that's the Shady Rays policy.
Shady
That's
Rays
it.
guarantee.
If you ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection of all eyewear. Every pair is backed by the lost or broken replacements policy, including ones that maybe we all saw coming except for Sam. But if you don't love them, they also will give you a new pair or even a return worry-free within 30 days. So there's no risk to shop Shady Rays. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off a polarized sunglasses. Try it for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, guys, we went a little long on the talk about Mike Modano and what Doug Armstrong had to say about taking the captaincy away, but we wanted to get into some NHL rule changes for the upcoming 2024-25 season. And I think the big one of the 4 that they announced back in June was the ability to use the coach's challenge to look at and possibly overturn or even call a delay of game puck over the glass. Now, look, there's no doubt that this is to get the obvious ones, the ones that are clear and obvious mistakes by a referee. Either they missed it or they called it and it took a deflection. But just like offside, there are going to be some judgment calls where it's really hard to tell. Do you like the fact, we'll start with Luddy. Do you like the fact that they can now challenge this?
I do, because I think at the end of the day, we want everybody to get it right. And I think from a fan's perspective, when you're watching the game and you get to see replay after replay after replay, and you see that it clearly did not or did hit the glass and the call goes this way or that way, you start screaming at your TV. Again, these guys see it in real time, and it's difficult when they're standing inside that glass and you're trying to watch these pucks, number one, not to get hit with it, and then you're looking through all the fans too. So you lose track of it. You know, visibly, it's difficult to pick those up all the time. A lot of self-preservation, because that's where the linesmen a lot of times are standing, are right in that area. So again, these are all things, and I think you're going to talk about a couple more, but they all seem to come about a year or two after they put in a different rule change, and they're trying to find ways to correct them at some point.
Now, one of the details of this rule is this is not a full blanket anything to do with delay of game for puck over the glass. This is simply a case where a penalty is called and you can challenge if they believe that is deflected off a player, stick, glass, or boards. That means that you cannot challenge a judgment call by the officials for how the puck left the ice, whether it's batted or shot out of the defensive zone, how it is. That's still something you can't challenge. So this broadens the challenge to, did it take a deflection on one that was called? Sean, do you like the fact that, I mean, more is better.
Yeah.
Did they go too short with this rule? Should have been everything?
I mean, to me, it should be something it's puck over the glass is supposedly a black and white rule. Puck goes over the glass and shut out. That's a penalty, right? And to me, I wouldn't have going a little bit farther on this to make it so you can actually make sure you get it completely right. I would have been fine with that. So to me, it's that. I mean, it's also funny where, like, we're going to talk about some of these other rules where they don't go far enough on this one, and there's other ones where it seems like you're putting some things in. You're like, why are we spending the time putting in these other things that you're about to introduce? And when there's clearly, you could have gone a step further on this one to get it fully right.
One of the things that always makes it funny to me is how much there seems to be resistance to adding things to video replay and challenges. I like the fact that in our system in the NHL, we have a penalty for unsuccessful challenges. I would be in favor of having more things under the purview of being able to coach a challenge and having stiffer penalties. You want to do it? Take a risk. I think that adds intrigue to the game.
Yeah.
There's a soccer guy talking.
I'm going to give you something here, and I don't think Luds needs to I don't think I need to convince Luds. There's such thing as too much technology.
Thank you.
Surprisingly, I hate video review. All of it. I miss the time when it used to just be an official's decision was an official's decision. And I know you can't do that in everything. You can't just say that's just up to him. But I just think that we're going to get to the point eventually in the NHL where it becomes college football and you're watching 400 video reviews a game and it's taking too long for the game. So I could talk about this for 30 minutes.
We could do a whole segment about it because I think there should have some sort of eye in the sky referee to help obvious misses that they can radio down and say, hey, guys, this is a mistake. But Luddy, the trade-off for those minuscule offsides or challenges on a puck out of play is the obvious ones that you'd hate to lose a Stanley Cup final game because the referees got it wrong.
Yeah.
How many years and how many Stanley Cups have been played before these rules come into place?
Sure.
Yeah.
Nobody, you know what? We didn't stand up and bitch about it. Like when there was an offside, if there's any kind of a close play now, you got 12 guys stand up on each bench that are screaming, especially at the lines. That never happened because you knew that the officials were very good at what they did. And I think you appreciated that. Oh yeah, he got that one right, or he didn't get that one right. You just play. But now it just brings in. It's more like soccer. It's just whining and diving and flipping and flopping and all this other shit that's coming in, right, Sam?
Me and you, Luds. No, for real, because I think that. Yeah. I agree with you 100% because now players can complain. They know that they could probably swing at least a review or swing the official maybe later on to hear them in their ear a little bit more.
That's not just limited to having video review.
No,
players have been trying to coerce referees since the dawn of professional sports.
Yeah, but they didn't get away with it.
Yeah.
Really? You never influence a referee by getting in his ear 2 periods earlier? Hey, this guy's hooking or slashing me.
If they did some of that stuff too, somebody the next shift or two would break their ankle for whining to somebody.
Yeah.
That wasn't called either because it was police yourself.
Yeah. I just think there's times you can go too far, and I hope they do it right. I hope it works perfectly and it doesn't take up too much time. I just would hate for it to turn into this guy's skate was actually hovering over the blue line. That's what we saw last season with the offside. And I hate to see that the game slow down and turn into a review after a review. That's all I'm saying.
So Luds, when you played without having the review and everything like that, do you think there was more respect for what the officials did from the players?
Yes. You mean, are you talking about when I play? Oh,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Like right now, like.
Yes, we knew they had a tough job, and especially when it came to the physical stuff. Remember Johnny D'Amico, right? I mean, the guy's about the size of Sam, right? And he's in there between two giant guys, Willie Huber and whoever it may be, and you respected that more than anything and they were tough. But when it came to the penalties and things like that, you had referees come up to you and talk to you. They would say, listen, let you get away with one there. You got away with one. And so you kind of respected that part of it. And you went, yeah, okay, got it. And then the next time you got a penalty, yeah, I deserve that. And that was your best way to get on their side anyway. So you didn't get another one. Yeah, Mac, that was a good call. I fucked up. I went too far. So, but now it's just whining. And I think what happens, and I'm going to the penalties now. Again, I will say this though, the game is better and faster and more entertaining when you have special teams and all these players are allowed to play. I agree with that. And I will tell people now, it's a more exciting game now than it ever was, especially in my day, because there was so much clutching and grabbing and holding. We could literally pick up I could grab onto Mario Lemieux at center ice and ride him right to the net.
And you probably did.
I did, and he was the guy complaining, which he should have complained. And I think he's part of the guy that got the rule changed. He complained enough, and there were some times that Crosby was getting wrestled and knocked around that he complained, and you should let these guys play. So, and I agree with all that. But again, I think there was respect more on both sides for what their job was and how difficult their job was.
Quickly, the other 3 rules, which were a little bit more, as Lud said, kind of closing loopholes, was now the defensive team cannot make a line change in a stoppage after their goaltender accidentally dislodges the net. Obviously, it's a penalty if he does it intentionally. The previous language said it applied just to skaters. So that's a good thing. That means that the goalie can't go careening into the post, even if by accident, and get a stoppage and get a line change if they're stuck in their zone and tired. Following an icing, the offensive center now will receive a warning, same as the defensive player, for a face-off violation. Those offensive centers used to get kicked out, which seems unfair because it wasn't both teams allowing that. And then the last one is one that makes me scratch my head. It's players sitting on the board can now be issued a warning, and then the second offense, a team bench minor for future violations. The referee will provide the warning offending team for sitting on the boards. You guys have any? Is this one that is you really?
Take it, Sean. Take this one. Take this one, Sean. Please do.
I don't get this one at all. Like, this is I was saying earlier, like, the one, if we're gonna go down the path of one rule, at least go all the way down the path of one rule. Why? I don't understand why we're spending any time on this at all. You can already give an unsportsmanlike conduct for something else that's already something in the ref's back pocket. This is complete lunacy. So I just I have no reason why we spent the ink or the time on this one, but even in our show. So
all right, well, it was on the release, so we listed
it's
it.
Like,
all right, let's do a video review segment, or maybe even an entire episode in the future.
Well, I think we should talk, as Luddy got me all fired up about the way officials call penalties, first period versus third period versus overtime versus early regular season versus playoffs. We can get all into that. I'll rant about that for days.
Yeah, but first let's talk about Sleeper.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's officially football season, which if you listen to the past episodes, you wouldn't think I'd know that because I was so wrong with how many days were left. But yesterday was football. And a good game.
Yeah.
A good game. And Sleeper was probably going nuts. I know that our producer, John, told me earlier this morning that his new strategy is just to have a player on every team so he can just get points all the time.
So he has 32 players on a 10-player roster.
I think he's just got it all.
Wow.
So every game he's like,
brilliant,
hey, if
John.
this team does well, I get it. If this team does well, I get it. I don't know. Still last place in my opinion. But Sleeper is the best fantasy football and now has the best way for you to win by simply predicting whether a player will have more or less than his projected stats. I know we have CD Lamb projected to have half a touchdown, what's a half a touchdown? It's like when you get in, but you don't
can't have
celebrate.
the line be 1, right? If it was 1 and he gets 1, then it's a push. So it has to be some half. Yeah, I know.
Right.
I get it.
So
I ruined a good joke.
Pick him to get a touchdown because he's going to get one. Let's be honest. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app. Make sure you use the code DLLS stars to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. That's free money right there. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
And if John is playing, our producer's playing on Sleeper, that's free money to win too.
Take it from him.
Speaking of our producer, he's not in vicinity of Luddy today. So the big question is, Luds, were you able to get your read for Rugged Road without his help?
Oh, I got it memorized.
Let's hear it.
Here, I got it memorized right here. It's dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best, like I do, and I never get it from you guys. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Still would love to see one of these things full. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiasts. So gear up the next adventure with Rugged Road coolers, reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off. That is memorized. Guys.
Well done, Luds. Well done.
Can I ask a quick question before we get to the next segment?
I don't know. Can you?
No, please don't let
You may.
Luds, are you wearing
I
pants?
knew it was coming to me. I knew it.
Are you wearing pants right now?
No, he's going to show you that he's not.
I'm just curious because I know that a lot of people I've heard when they do the
I
show
don't
from
think
New Jersey,
I
they
don't
don't
think
wear
that
pants.
question should be allowed to be asked.
I believe you asked Sam that question
And
last week.
I'm more curious why you want to know.
I'm just curious if the tradition is continued for the remote in New Jersey DLLS No Pants Club.
To be honest, you as prone as I am to shit going wrong, if I'd have tipped over and you guys would have seen my bare ass up there, we'd have been canceled.
No.
So
We would not have been
They
canceled.
are
We would have gotten 100,000 subscribers right away.
Well, if that ever happens, you know we're getting desperate for viewership. So,
Oh, jeez.
all
so
right.
to answer your question, I know that inquiring minds need to know. I'm fully dressed.
Good to know.
Let's move
All right.
on to more tales from retirement. As we remind you, yes, please follow the show at DLLS_stars on Twitter. And we saw the news. I don't know if you guys saw this today, but former Dallas Stars defenseman Alex Goligoski, one of two notable blue liners to announce his retirement from his NHL career. Yesterday, it was Mark Stahl. But let's talk about Goligoski first. He's the Grand Rapids, Minnesota native. He was drafted in the second round of 2004 by Pittsburgh. I actually saw and called games when he was playing in the minors with Wilkes-Barre Scranton before he got his first call-up with the Penguins, which was my first year in the AHL with Albany. He got traded to Dallas in the 2010-11 season, ended up playing almost 400 games with the Stars. It was a period of time, guys, where he was I think the number one blue liner for most of it. He had a really good, successful pairing with John Klingberg later on during his time with Dallas. The only big thing was that they had a dearth of, sort of a lack of playoff games, except for that 2015-16 season, which ended too short. That was a really good team that got bounced in the second round by St. Louis. But, Luddy, when you think of Alex Goligoski's career, especially with the Dallas Stars, he played with Pittsburgh, Dallas, the Coyotes, and then finished with Minnesota. What do you think about?
Great skater. Was able to close the gap. He could move as well east-west as he did north and south. Did a lot with his legs as far as transporting a puck up the ice. I think he was a good partner for a guy like Klingberg, and we can go back to a couple guys that I played with. You talked about Zuby the other day, but obviously Zuby and Klinger are a little bit alike, I would say, because they're both offensively gifted and minded. I think what Gogo did is he was really good at recognizing when Klinger was taking the puck and that he probably had to stay back a little bit and then be ready to defend if he need be. But I would say, and again, I think we all kind of tail off at the end of our career, and you don't want that ever to be brought up. Maybe it's a little different towards the end, but I think he was a top four defenseman. I'm not going to say he was a 1 or 2, but I don't think he's a 5 or 6 either. So I think he's in the middle of the road there, and there's a reason other teams pick you up, even when you're later in your career, because you become dependable and you know what you're getting.
Hey, Sean, I remember when Goligoski left the Stars, he was a free agent after that 15-16 season. And the Stars, at the time, I think the talking point was they didn't want to give him that term because he was getting up there in years. But he ended up playing almost 5 seasons with Arizona, the team he signed as a free agent, and then finished with 2.5 years with Minnesota. Was that a mistake for Dallas not to give him the term? Because he held up pretty well over that next chunk.
I mean, if you want to go butterfly effect on things, so he leaves after 15-16, right? What happens in...
Just looking at
You see
What
the
are we
chat?
laughing
Can you
at?
read
What
it?
are we
Jimmy
laughing
says it
at?
looks
Okay.
like Luds has no neck.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what are you... Yeah. Okay. That fine. Anywho, so if you want to go a dangerous butterfly effect, he leaves after the 15-16 season. 16-17 season, what happens? Everything falls apart. Injuries, everything like that. Injuries in camp. The Stars win the draft lottery because of what happened in 16-17. I don't want to go down the butterfly effect of
They
not
wouldn't have
getting
Miro
here.
Heiskanen, would they?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
where I go with. You
Or
talk
Jake
about,
Ottinger, perhaps.
Yeah. So I go down. So I look at in a vacuum. Hey, would Goligoski have been helped stabilize things? Of course, but with how things turned out in franchise history, I don't want to go and undo Goligoski signing with Arizona because of what ended up happening after 16-7 in June of 17.
Do you know who Klingberg played with in 2017-18? Because I was just looking. It's funny. He had some good years with Goligoski, but then his biggest year was 17-18.
As far as points?
Career year. That's
well,
67
it's because
points.
he was the quarterback of the power play.
Yep.
But I think he struggled in that year. And Luddy, you and I were talking about this. I don't remember if it was on the show or off the air, but it was teams really focused on Klingberg in that next year went on their forecheck pressure. And because he was the focal point with Goligoski, they couldn't overload Klingberg because he could just move it to Goose and then he would take it out of the zone.
Yeah, and that's why you should play against Klingberg and any other kind of defenseman. I'm actually, I had to Google butterfly effect. So the idea that system. So I agree, Sean. I agree now. Now that I know what it is. Yeah. Again, I just think he was a good. I don't know, and I don't know if it's a negative comment. He's a good complement to a certain kind of defenseman because you really didn't have to fear that he couldn't play in his own end because he could. And he was able to play outnumbered rushes if he played an offensive guy that's occasionally going to be caught up the ice.
It's always interesting to look at players that couldn't play on a good team. You know, Goligoski only played 47 playoff games in his whole career. So what does a player like that do if he's on a team that goes on a couple deep runs or if he's on the Stars team now? It's just always interesting to think about what players are potential.
Or is it just bad timing for when he's on those teams?
Yeah,
he won a Stanley Cup. He won a Stanley Cup.
That's in Pittsburgh. You guys, you two bozos over there on my left on the screen there, guys.
Yeah.
They don't remember that was in Pittsburgh. They're Googling and Goligoski.
No. I know. I'm just. All I was trying to say is that he only played 13. He had 13 playoff game, 2 seasons. So over his career, 47 playoff games is not very long when you play a career length that he did. But yes, of course, he did win a Stanley Cup.
Okay, I mean, that's just I was going to make sure we didn't miss that point. His name's on there forever. Like he's got that's
well deserved.
Yeah.
I'm always curious when a player doesn't get to the playoffs as much as they maybe should. You know, we just mentioned he was on the team that fell apart, and he's on the team that has a lot of struggles. But he's on the team that we had Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah, but I
players
also
like
don't think that's on him. Sometimes that's bad luck.
That's not what I mean. I mean, if he's able to play on that team, what could he do? That's all I mean.
Look at Matt Duchene, his first, really deep playoff run. Now, Columbus, they did sweep Tampa the year that they, won the first round, then they lost in 6 games in the next round to Boston. The Stars last year, their playoff run, that was the longest that Matt Duchene had ever been involved. So sometimes it's not the player, it's just the circumstances. But what about Mark Stahl as we have a couple minutes? I mean, he played a ton for the New York Rangers. He played 1,136 regular season games. Big, physical defenseman. Honestly, the way he plays, it reminded me a lot of the kind of defenseman you like.
Yeah, love it. And you think of the history of the New York Rangers and how long they've been around. He's in the top 6 all-time games played. So, I mean, it just tells you, a guy that's in the lineup. For me, what the kind of player that he is, I mean, he blocks shots, good stick, his size, but you didn't want to go in his corner. I think that you knew if you got too close to him, he was going to bear hug you, and you're not going to be involved in the play much anymore. And so, and I don't think he wanted to pretend that he was something that he wasn't. And it's not like he didn't have any offensive upside because he, again, I would say it was average, but he knew what he brought to the team, and he knew that if he didn't play that way, he wouldn't be helping the team in the right direction. So. And again, that's kind of like Alex. I mean, different players. And I think that's such an important thing that players have to have, no matter what era you play in, is you have to know what you bring to that team, and you have to stay within that. And it's the guys that step outside of it that can get themselves in trouble at times. So, long career. I would think that if he was in his prime and he ever came up to be moved, which I don't know why you would, but there'd be a lot of teams lining up the door to get him on their team.
He's a guy too where I think people kind of forget when with that, not the team that won the Cup in Florida, but the year prior, that kind of Cinderella run to the final against Vegas. Like that Florida team was beat to hell, right? Like they were so injured, and the fact that Florida team made it as far as they did is always remarkable. But he was such a solid part of that team, and then Florida went and won the Cup the year after he left. But like you look at Stahl, like that to me is always kind of one of those like reminders of how he could help stabilize a defense even at the end. And it's one of those where like his career, because of how long he played, I think kind of what he was at his peak and where he was kind of got lost by the recency bias.
Lastly, guys, I saw this tweet this morning. It was a insider, Pierre LeBrun, basically doing a favor to an agent because the agent for Kevin Shattenkirk.
Oh, you're gonna say it, you're gonna say it like it is. You're just saying it like it is, huh?
Isn't that what that is? I mean, this is a report of, hey, Kevin Shattenkirk is interested in playing again and has discussions with a few teams. Is that not what that is? Maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean, that's what all of those. Anytime you see an insider go and tweet something like that, I'm glad that you said it, because I'm not allowed to technically say it since I still have to get those people to respond to my text messages.
Well, maybe I'm wrong,
So
and I'll eat crow if that's the case. But he had a 1 year,
you're 100% right.
$1.05 million deal with Boston last year. I just looked up his numbers real quick. His stats aren't everything, but he had 24 points in 61 games. Do you think Kevin Shattenkirk gets a job in the NHL at 35, and would you want him on the Stars?
Take it, Sean.
In 60 seconds.
No. No. Just no. No.
Done.
You know what? Hey, I'll tell you what, Sean. There's going to be one desperate team.
Oh, yeah, there will be. But,
I agree with you. But there will be a desperate team. So maybe it's San Jose or Utah or whatever. Well, Utah's going to have probably better than you'd expect. There'll be some.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk DLS.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Sean has a piece up on the site. If you are a diehard, or if you're not a diehard, you should, because Sean's done some great writing. I think even Luddy liked what he saw in that article today, talking a little bit more about Wyatt Johnston. Sam had a piece yesterday about Wyatt. Sean went into the possibility of Wyatt picking up the power play slack left behind by Joe Pavelski. And you should definitely sign up to be a DLS diehard, not just for access to great writing like Sean and Sam, but also because you get a free t-shirt. You get a chance to do what we're going to talk about in a minute, which is be involved with our Discord channel and ask Luddy all sorts of ridiculous things, which we're about to hit him with both barrels. But it's to me, it's a no-brainer. You get great value. You get a shirt, which is a $35 value, almost half of your yearly subscription, and then you get to do all the access and many, many more things that we do as we continue to expand DLLS, both with the Stars and the other sports that we cover here at the studio.
Yeah, so I think the best ad for being a diehard is what we're about to do right now. So let's move on to the first.
It is time.
The first ever Ask Luds Anything, Luds against the damn Discord, whatever you want to call it. We'll come up with some better rules and things once we do this, because I'm sure Luds will entertain us here. But let's just get right into it. We have some questions. I'll read them to you, Luds, and then you give us your answer. John, you want to pop the first question up? All right. Is that AJN rules?
Boy, if you can't read it, we're in trouble.
I can't read anything. If your cup-winning teams, 86 Canadians and 99 Stars, were to face off in a 7-game series, who do you think would come out on top and why?
Oh, boy.
Glad to see you're taking this as seriously as this segment deserves.
I'm gonna say the 99 team, and the reason for that is I think we were fortunate in that first cup to get to where we got to, and it was because of one player, and that was Patrick Roy. And I think the 99 team was probably way more balanced, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys that aren't going to agree with me from that other club, but we just had more bullets in the gun, and there were a lot more pieces in the right place with the 99 team.
I just realized that he has that bag on his head.
You didn't see
I didn't realize that at first.
He had holes for the eyes, nose, and mouth.
I thought, nope, he cut them out himself and everything.
I noticed that when he first wore it.
That's amazing. All right, next
Took
question,
me a lot
John.
of work to get this done.
Next question.
All right, round 2.
All right. Ardell says, Luds, you're in a combat situation facing a mortal threat from an enemy or enemies, the proverbial foxhole. Which 2 or 3 former teammates would you want fighting by your side? Any current Dallas Stars player you'd want there?
So that's 2 questions.
Two
former
parter.
teammates and any current Dallas Stars.
Let's answer the last one first. Jamie Benn, any day of the week. Early on, Chris Nyland, Shane Sherla, Billy Heward. Nux is just not all there. Great teammate. Took me under his wing when I first got to Montreal. Churls was my roommate, which, man, did they make a mistake there for a long time. That's one for the Capades thing.
Yeah, we need Luds Capades about Chucky because.
And speaking of the Capades thing, my kids got involved in this. Kim got them going last night.
A
different name for Capades. I'm not saying that the Capade deal isn't good, but there were a couple of good ones that came up. We can discuss later. We can put them up there and maybe they can pick.
Put them in the Discord.
Billy Heward. I remember Huey. Billy Heward's got a book out, by the way, a great book. But Billy was the guy that knew that was his role and took it seriously, and had hands like jackhammers about the size of bricks. But Churls just could take anybody on, and again, he was a fan favorite, and he still is to this day in Dallas. And like I said, Chris Nyland was just. You can Google Nux because I'm telling you, it'd be worth it watching some of his fights. And, we've seen what Jamie Benn has been able to do in this era. And we've all seen Jamie take on some tough opponents, and you don't see him lose much. So Jamie Benn, for me, most recent.
We have to do a Luds Capades about Churla because young Dallas Stars fans probably don't know that Mike Modano wasn't the most popular Dallas Star when they first moved to Texas. Right. That it was Churla that got all the attention, and then obviously Modano became the big face of the team.
It was the iconic commercial with Churla, right? Because he was the only one in town to film the commercial. I think it was called the Ice War was coming. It's a commercial that they shot. And one thing I wanted to give Luds just because I quickly looked up the book that Billy Heward wrote while Luds brought it up. It's called The Purpose Worth Fighting For, and Cred Ludwig has the first review of it on the top there. But I have not read it yet, but
is there any profanity in Luddy's review?
No, but this is a serious thing. Like, it's a book about like the physical and mental toll that carried over from a career in battle like that. So I want to give Luds a quick second to plug that for Billy. I'll probably buy it myself after we finish this show because my quick looking at it made me want to go buy that book right now. So I want to give Luds a quick 15 seconds to plug that for Billy.
I'll tell you, Sean, it was what happened was Billy had called me up and said, Luds, listen, I want you to read the book for me. And I'd like to put it, I don't know what you call it, where you sign something or put your name on quote. But I got to chapter 10 or 11. First off, I didn't read it. I'll be the first one to say that. I figured it out. No, hang on. It doesn't mean I didn't listen to it. But
I was going to say, somebody send you an audio copy?
No, I got that damn thing to where it you can put it on your screen and it'll read the words to you and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. My problem was when exactly, Sam, because that's what happened to me. It go right back to the beginning again. I get to like chapter 3 and it took me right back to chapter 1. I couldn't get it. Eventually, after about 3 months, I got through the whole thing, and I got to chapter, I think it was 9 or 10. And I was like, what? Like, this happened? I didn't know that happened. And again, I don't want to give too much of it away, but it really got in depth of the toll that it took on him. And so, and there was a couple dark things that happened to Huey. And I was like, Huey, I had no idea. I mean, and he said nobody knew. And so now, he gets out there and he's trying to spread, the word of positivity, and you need help, reach out and get help, because he was getting close to what I guess some people would think was the end of the line. And lucky for all of us that know Huey and such a good guy. Let me tell you one story about Huey, and I'll keep this short. So when Huey got here, he wanted a bike, wanted a Harley. And there was like, I think 7, 8 of us, 9 of us that had bikes, and we rode, and we were going to this one place after practice, but Huey didn't have a bike. And he goes, Luds, because when we traded for Billy, I went and picked him up at the airport, and never met him before in my life. I just picked him up at the airport, gave him a ride, introduced him kind of where we were. And so he wanted to get a bike, so he didn't have his bike. So he says, I'm going to follow you guys. He had a little red Vega or something like that. The dude doesn't fit in it, right? He's just a big man. And so we get to this place, and we all get off our bikes, and I'm like, well, where the hell is he? And I see he's parked in the back of the place. I'm like, Huey, let's go. I'm yelling at him because he just yells out, I'll be right there. He gets out of his car. he had put his bandana on, his biker gloves on, and his biker boots on. He came walking into the place like he was one of the bikers.
So look the part.
And from that day, when Hatch saw him and Churls, because it was all of us that, we all had bikes, and so he just was instantly, and Maddie and everybody that was involved in it. But talk about the ultimate teammate. And I'll say one thing about all those guys in that question: they are the heartbeat of your team, because they go to different lengths to protect their players and make sure they're the guys.
Ben is asking for a refresher on the name and author. If you want to plug that, Sean.
Was that 15 seconds? Did I go over the 15 seconds?
No, it was meaningful. It doesn't matter how long it was. Name of the book is Purpose Worth Fighting For, and it's by Billy Heward. And it's available on I found it on Amazon real quick. We'll drop it into the damn Discord channel too for anyone who wants to follow there and didn't read it. So we'll do that.
Perfect. Not easy to segue that to a silly one, but what do we have next?
Yeah, we'll have to ask him who he wants on from the podcast to fight for the death. All right, we have T-11. Does Luds still have his shin pads, and how much would he sell them for?
Oh boy, I do have them. They were put in a case, a plastic case in a frame. They are not good to look at, but that's exactly what I wore. And I will give you a little short story. I got a lot of short stories.
That's why we're doing these.
I know. Sorry, I got a call. I got a letter from the NHL years ago, and wondered if they could have the shin pads. And I didn't respond. Got another letter, didn't respond. Got a phone call then, and I don't remember the guy's name, but asked me, and I'm like, man, I don't, nothing of me belongs there. And I said my kids want them and all this other kind of stuff. And then I got another phone call. So this is 4 times now, and I'm thinking, you guys can't even. You don't get it. And I said to the guy, dude, I said, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You can have the shin pads if you take me. I've never got a phone call. I've never got another letter, nothing. So that is done. But so the long-winded answer, yes, I have it. Kim is kind of dead set on, we're probably going to put them up in a little cabin that we have up north. I don't know if you really want to look at them, but I appreciate the question, because they were through. I got those things used as a used pair of pads when I was a freshman at North Dakota, and I used them my whole career.
Your whole career. Yeah. They don't make them like that now, because now they're made to be disposable. You used your shin pads for decades.
They didn't make them like that then. Like, when they would break so many times, and if you guys remember that plaster Paris that you would kind of dip in water and then you had to put them on for a bruise and stuff like that. I told Smitty, our trainer at the time, I said, I'm not getting another pad. He goes, Luds, I said, I'm not getting another pad. We're gonna fix it. Because what happened is that the plastic would crack, and I'd take my skates off and there'd be a bunch of blood down on my socks. Well, it was sticking in my shin. I didn't know it at the time. But anyway, so he would put that plastic on there and he'd rivet on there. The only problem is, and people think that they actually think that I parked a car on top of them to make them that wide. But what happened is, when that stuff cools, it kept pulling the pads out. And that's how they got that big. And then after we beat Edmonton, I think the last time in the playoffs, Slats sent a letter. Glenn Sather sent a letter to the NHL that Bob Gainey gave to me that said there should be a rule for defenseman-sized pad. He didn't name me, but I don't know who else he could have been talking about.
All right,
Luds,
John.
Did you ever think about, because they didn't make blocked shots
Writing
an
a
official
book?
stat?
Yes, I did. I think about writing a book.
Yeah, but no, okay, book. But from a blocked shot perspective, have you ever thought about how many you had in your career? Because they didn't make it an official stat till after your career ended. Like, I see, like Mark. Yeah.
I've been asked that question. I said I wouldn't know. I could ballpark it how many you thought you had per game, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't even know what the number is right now, Sean. What is there? Yeah. What is the average number for block shots for a year for a guy that? Is that
like a guy like so Mark Giordano holds the all-time record with 2,100 in his career. Like that's the all-time in his career. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, but one thing I'll tell you is the wider that they got, the less it bothered me, because I didn't have to move as far. I didn't have to get over in that shot lane. It still got a little piece of them. And it's funny how the goalies, whether it was Patrick or Belfour, whoever I played for, they love you until one hits it and goes in the net. Then they just stand there and they look at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, What about the other 12 that didn't go in, that I saved your ass on, or Maddie did, or Hatch did, or something like that? So it'd be interesting to know what the number was. But again, as you know, you guys know, a different era too, because we didn't play against as many skilled guys, right? And so you'd know the guys that would come down and they're winding up to take a shot. So it was probably a little bit easier then. So, but anyways, it was just part of my MO, and it just kind of, obviously it stuck with me because I get more pictures sent to me about those pads, and it's the shot of the ugly ones.
Hey, Luddy, there's never been a goalie in the history of the game that hasn't yelled at one of his teammates for trying to block a shot that ended up in the net. Not one.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, but it's just, and again, it's not like we're doing it on purpose. Now, I will say this, and I'm not the only one. There have been times when you do things like that on purpose, because you get one guy that whines a little bit too much about it. Trust me, there is a way to turn your stick a little bit just like this, where you're not going where it's supposed to. And like, oh, how'd that feel? Oh, really? So.
All right, now we know next week that this segment needs to be 30 minutes or more.
Well, just start the segment. Yeah, we'll leave them wanting more.
Yeah, let's just ignore the wrap-up thing, though. We got Iceman with a 3 in there. Hey, Luds, how do I reset my router?
Ask your wife.
All right. One more. John, let's get one more. All right, Luds, this is a picture one for you. It says agree or disagree.
And for the audio listeners, it's a above the roll toilet paper roll and a below the roll. One says this is right, good, which is over. One says this is wrong, bad.
Wait, there's no question. It's got to be above, because if it's the other way, it just keeps running onto the floor.
I am squarely on Luddy's side.
I agree.
You are a crazy person.
Yes.
Certifiable if you are an under.
Mama Nestler. Yes, she does that.
Do you guys
under the roll, and I just flip it, or
you have the battle?
Just dip it in the water to mess her up, or whatever I can do. But one more, John? All right, let's get one more.
Yep.
All right. Wow.
Jesus.
Oh yeah. This was so long ago, I didn't even remember writing that. Luds, will you be my friend? From that's at Sam Nestler.
I'll tell you something, Sam.
Don't do it, Luds.
I'm your welcome wagon, man. I'm your welcome when, So when I will introduce you to a couple bartenders, and then I'll have to put my question to you. Do you really want to be my friend?
Well, here's the question, Luds. I came to town, and I didn't get picked up by you or driven by you on your Harley or any of that. So I wasn't welcomed as well as your teammates.
Don't threaten that. He will definitely take you for a ride.
I want to get on the back of that Harley.
Listen, that ain't happening. You aren't. You think you're gonna ride Biff on the back of my
That would be really cute with you on the back.
Come on, just like this.
I think Sam needs his own segment here. I like to see some of the questions that are coming in, because I know my first question I'm asking.
Oh boy. All right. Oh, and take it over. I'm done talking.
All right. That's the damn Discord for today. We'll do it again next Friday. Make sure you go on to, first you have to become a diehard, then you can get into the Discord. You can ask questions of Luds, Sam, Sean. I mean, really, it doesn't
rules.
have to just be Craig that gets all the questions. It could be any of us. Make sure you follow the show at DLS_stars on Twitter. Don't forget our main account, which is at DLS_sports. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Same with any of the audio, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, you name it. Luddy, how you feeling? You pretty confident about getting a result in this trip to New Jersey?
I'm staying grounded. We again, game one, we're hoping for the best. It's all about goaltending, man. Right, Sean? You need a goaltender.
Yeah. Always.
Special teams and goaltending, a great way to end. Well, that does it for our week. We'll be back on Monday, so don't forget, we will get a lot more into it. We have some more guests that we are planning on. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to, of course, ask Luddy about defense, because I have a lot of things that we need to ask him about. Should Miro play on the left? We'll get into that next week. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.